I have a clip here of a guy by the name of Gary Webb who had died because he had exposed the CIA for putting drugs in the black communities. Let's get into the news.
Outraged by it. As a public elected officials, all of us must be concerned that our government could have anyway been involved in drug trafficking. Drug trafficking. That's a very, very serious offense against the people of this nation.
Then there were the competing news outlets, who immediately went to work to discredit Gary Webb's stories. Gary's critics pointed out the flaws in Dark Alliance, such as its inability to prove exactly how much money was sent to the Contras, and the fact that the Dark Alliance used the testimonies of drug dealers as witnesses and couldn't identify any specific CIA agents involved in the selling of drugs who could corroborate the story. Gary Webb was also accused of oversimplifying how the crack epidemic grew in America, as critics argued that in no way could the CIA be solely to blame for the spread of crack cocaine across the country. As Gary Webb was being dragged through the media, it became clear that many who read the Dark Alliance misinterpreted parts of the story. So Gary spoke out to clarify any misconceptions. He pointed out that his stories didn't say CIA agents were dealing drugs, nor did they say the CIA masterminded a crack cocaine epidemic. What they did say was drug traffickers linked to the CIA-backed Contras sold tons of cocaine in Southern California to help finance the guerrilla war in Nicaragua.
The Contras were a creation of the CIA, and so when our story came out saying that the Contras were dealing drugs in Los Angeles and elsewhere, and that these drug traffickers were meeting with CIA agents, a lot of people took that to say the CIA created the crack epidemic, which is clearly not the case. But the impact of it was that when you had all this cheap cocaine going into South Central Los Angeles, right at the time people were figuring out how to take this powder cocaine and turn it into crack, you had sort of a collision of historical events. And what happened from that was you had a spread of crack nationwide because the gangs spread nationwide. The gangs, after the LA market got saturated, took this to other cities and set up crack markets in other cities that didn't have them.
If anybody knows anything about crack, that is a chemistry product. There is no two niggas from the hood with very low intelligence, especially in science, they can put these two elements together and make crack. That is a scientific thing. That's some shit that was made in a lab and they came to the hood and taught folks how to do that shit. There's a guy by the name of Rick Ross that you guys already know, not the rapper, the actual real Rick Ross. He was tied in with a Nicaraguan dude named Blandon, and he was getting his cocaine from Nicaragua. And then they said that the Nicaraguan guy was actually getting it from the government. So all that shit was tied in. There's some other videos speaking about that. And if you guys are interested in that subject, I will cover that. Well, anyway, tell me what you guys think. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys back here in another video.